Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to cover a subject that I have not touched on before, but it's something I do quite frequently. And that's going to be sharpening an axe with a belt grinder. There's a couple of ways that it can be done. Let me show you my process. All right, just look at what we're going to need. With your belt grinder, you're going to need belts. I normally start off relatively aggressive. This is an 80 grit. I thought I started out more aggressive than that. Where'd it go? Yeah, there's a 60 grit. And sometimes I even start off with like a 40 grit. And when you start off with a highly aggressive belt, it is what sets your bevel and defines what the profile is going to be. And then all the other belts are just basically cleaning up those scratch patterns and just making it nice and refining the edge. If I'm going for a mirror polish, I will go all the way up to 1,000 grit belt and then use a polishing belt on it. But if I'm going to just use a user, I will go through to about 220 and then switch over to conditioning belts. You're also going to need your axe head. I like sharpening my axe head right before I finish hanging it. Just because of how my setup is, you might want to play around with it. If I've had issues with the handle getting caught up in the belt and gouging the belt. So if you've never done it before and you've got a handle on it, make sure that you protect the handle up near the head. I've got a rag because if the head gets warm, I've got some water. And then a belt grinder. Let me cover one other thing real quick, and it is heat. That's why I've got water. With your highly aggressive belts, think about it in this way. There's less surface area. There's a lot of rough areas on the surface. So there's less surface area, which causes less heat, even though you're removing more material at one time. The finer grit belts that you go to, there is more contact area and it will heat up very, very quickly. So you have to be careful when you're getting into the very high grits. When I'm using the platen, and the entire time, this is what works for me. I lock my arms in. I find a comfortable way to hold the axe head, and I will move it across evenly on the belt. Locking your arms and your elbows in and locking your wrists and just moving your body from side to side will help you keep a very continuous angle. Something else you can do, this particular grinder has a little ledge here and you can use it as a shelf so you get a continuous edge. The only thing is, it doesn't leave you a lot of room. Onto this is the platen, and this area is not supported at all. You can get a convex edge. So on the platen, you're going to get basically just a flat grind. On a convex, because the belt gives, same thing. You just move it back and forth. Be careful trying to get the same pressure on this grinder right next to the platen. It gets very steep, so I try to stay away from there. So I try to stay somewhere here in the middle doing that convex edge. So I'm going to get started. I'm actually going to do a flat grind on this. Let me get started. So from my experience, the very first process, the one that you're using to define and shape your bevel, your angle, usually takes the longest because you've got to remove all the material. After that, like I said earlier, it's just removing scratch patterns. Let me get started. see, I'm starting to get a bevel or an angle that I want. Just like when file sharpening, I'm starting back here. I've chosen the angle that I want, and I'm sticking with that. I'm not cheating and going to the edge. I'm removing material and letting it go to the edge. Like I said, the material removal process takes the longest. You normally don't have to worry about it heating up because it's less surface area. So let me get this bevel established and we'll continue. Even though, stop that real quick because it's noisy. Even though this is less likely to heat up, every few passes you will see me. I am checking to find for heat. Right now I know I'm not to the edge, but later on when I get closer to the edge, I will also be doing that to check for a bevel. If you notice, I'm actually staying on that belt for a good amount of time. I'm actually pressing down and taking material off. I'm not trying to bog the machine down. I'm letting the belt and the abrasive do the work, but I'm staying on it for a long time. And that's because it doesn't have a lot of surface area and it's not going to heat up as quickly. You see, I am dipping it in water because it is getting warm. But when I move to a finer grit belt, I'm not going to be able to stay on it as long. I don't know if y'all can see, but I'm starting to get a burr. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm starting to get a burr, but it's not all the way across. So my goal is to get that burr all the way across and then start refining that edge. So, let's see if we can take a look at this. As you can see, I have a burr, a rough burr, all the way across the bit. So my next step is just to remove the scratches because my bevel is now set. Just going to remove the scratches and polish up that burr, and I'm just going to do that by stepping up in grit. So that was 60, 80, and I'm going to jump to a 120 after that, and then I'm not sure what the other one is, but I'm going to go up to about 220, and then I'm going to hit it with the, what do you call them? I'll just draw a blank. I'm going to hit it with the conditioning belts. Okay, this next belt is a Trizac Gator belt. I like the way they cut. They last a pretty long time, but their numbers are a little bit different. I think this is like a 160. So like I said, once you get that initial bevel set, we get all the material removed off from the first belt, removing the scratch pattern and just refining it on the following belts doesn't take very long, just a few passes per belt. This is, so it's a Trizac, but they call it a A100. I don't remember what the equivalent is. I wish they would do it just like a regular grit progression. So I keep them in a certain order so I don't get mixed up on my grits, but this is probably, I think, around 180 or 200, something like that. This is basically a 220. So now I'm going to move to the conditioning belts. I absolutely love these conditioning belts. I'm glad that I found them because it saves such time when doing this. Honestly, if I wasn't going for like a really nice finish on it, I probably could have stopped at around 100 grit and gone directly to the coarse conditioning belt. But that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start at the coarse conditioning belt. Then I'm going to do, so I'm going to start at extra coarse, 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 what is this? Yeah, coarse, medium, fine, and then extra fine. And this is going to go quick. And it should give a really good finish. So these conditioning belts does not take much to get the results with these conditioning belts. So that was coarse. This is a medium. move y'all in a little closer so we can see the burr swapping sides. I don't know if you can really see it in the picture, but as you go across the belt, you can actually see the burr swapping sides. Again, this edge would have been user ready many grits ago, as long as I just removed that burr, but I'm trying to get a nicer finish to it. That was the fine. I'm going to move to the extra fine. That was the extra fine conditioning belt. From here, two things. They make a belt that you can actually put rouge on or compound on, or you can use a buffing wheel. Let me see if I can find the belt. I don't want to dig it out. It's here, but I don't want to dig it out. I don't want to dig out that belt, so I'm just going to use my buffing wheel. I like and have had good success with the black, but there's all kinds of good compounds out there. Yeah, I have that. I wish I had another setup with just a plain cotton wheel on it so I could remove and highly polish or get all the compound off of here with another buffing wheel, but I don't right now, and I really don't have room in this little mobile shop, but take a look at this edge. It's not a mirror finish, but it is a really nice edge, a very nice usable edge. It looks good, but how sharp is it? My wife has gotten really tired and has begged me not to shave my arm hair with my axes anymore. She said it gets too prickly, so I'm going to try it on a piece of magazine paper. This is tricky, regardless of how sharp it is. You got to hold your mouth right, but when you figure it out, it works to tell you how sharp it is. That is just ridiculously sharp. Nice fine cuts. So I left off at basically 220 with the Trizac Gator belts, and then I went to the conditioning belts. So to show you, and I may not have, I'm going to try to get as close to mirror polish as I can because I may be missing a belt to do that, but I'm just going to step up. Basically, I'm going to start back where I left off before I went to the conditioning belts. So I don't know if y'all could tell how quickly I was going across there and continuously checking for heat, because this is where if you linger too long on the belt, it'll start burning it. Now if you see a little bit of brown or black or something like that, that's not the end of the world. Once it starts changing colors to your blue and your straws and stuff like that, that's when you got some issues. So just don't linger too long. Continue to check the temperature by touching the bit and have some water on hand. You should be fine. Again, from that belt to these belts, there's so much, the grit is so fine, there is so much surface area that these heat up fast. You got to be careful. Case in point, let's show y'all this real quick. Y'all saw how quickly I was going across that belt. Right here, just barely started to overheat. I was just on there for less than a second. Gotta be careful with these really, really fine grits. But that is not gonna affect the temper. It hasn't changed to the blue or the other colors. You should be good to go. So I have not done a mirror edge in a long time, and I think I remember why. It's because I don't have the right progression of belts, but I'll buff it real quick and see what it looks like. All right, let's take a look at this. I am missing one of the belts in the progression step, but as you can see, that is a pretty daggone good mirror polish. Hello. Don't. If I had the other belts, I think it would be better, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that mirror finish. Just razor sharp. Guys, doing this paper thing is hard. You gotta hold your mouth right, but look how freaking sharp that is. If I wasn't trying to take small slivers, it might be easier. Truly appreciate y'all checking out the video. This was a long time coming. I probably should have done it a while back. I'm happy with the way this edge turned out. And this is the small hatchet that my buddy's son picked out. So almost finished hanging that for you, buddy. Gonna make a mask for it and I'll get it milled off. My opinion, I used to do a lot of mirror edges, and I'm looking at myself in that. That's just cool. Mirror edges are cool, but as soon as you go to use them, that mirror edge is gone. It's more, in my opinion, a decorative thing. I sold a lot of axes with mirror polishes because they were going to be put up on the wall or something like that. They were decorative pieces. But if you're going to use a belt grinder and just want a good usable edge, get you some belts starting at like 40 or 60 going up to 200, and then get you those conditioning belts from coarse, medium, fine, and extra fine. Beautiful edge, really nice edge, and you don't have to worry about marking them up. Truly hope this video helped anybody that wanted to learn how to sharpen with a belt grinder. I'm not an expert, but you can get it done. Just takes a little bit of practice. Get you an old double bit that you don't care about and practice on that thing first, because you might screw up your head. Especially with the high grip belts. If you stay on there too long, and I'm talking a half second too long, you put too much pressure on it, you can mess up the temper on it. It's another thing about going with the conditioning belts from after 200 or so. It doesn't heat up as badly. I mean, it gets warm, but it doesn't heat up. Y'all saw with the high grit, starting probably around 800 grit, if I lingered way too long, and talking like half a second, start to heat up this bit. So if you want to do it, try it. Just make sure you use something that you don't really care about to learn on. That's just beautiful. Oh, let's see if I can find the bevel gauge. I'm not sure where it's at. After I moved, I don't know what I did with it. Here it is. Let's see, I'm gonna guess that's probably around an 18 or 20. 17 and a half. Almost. And 20's got a little bit of a gap. If I had to guess, this is about an 18-degree angle. Truly, truly appreciate y'all checking out the video. Give it a thumbs up, share it, whatever you want to do. Help my channel grow. Send it to somebody you know wants to learn something about sharpening an axe with a belt grinder. I'll catch you later. You ready to do the video, buddy? Hey. Hey. God, I miss my dog.